You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
I'm a little busy buying my Godzilla ticket right now.
Are we interrupting? Okay, well then we'll bypass you.
Keith Cheatham.
We'll bypass you right now.
No, I gave my name, Keith Cheatham.
Because we have a very special guest this week, Miss
Aaron Boyd.
What? Oh my gosh, Aaron Boyd is here in the house.
What?
She's joining us.
Who's
I think.
that?
Is this for the first time?
I don't
live?
know this person.
Holy crap, this is the first time she's ever been on since we've had our live show.
Oh my goodness.
How's it feel?
She's glowing. Are you pregnant?
No.
Oh. Man, that was quick.
I am not
She's
pregnant.
jumped right
quick.
into it.
Man.
Whew. How do we feel about Aaron being on the show today, guys?
Well, it's been, like over a year?
Yeah, I think so.
No, it hasn't.
It's
You
been a
did
long
not
time.
come on during 2018,
You're the.
believe.
What?
You're,
I don't think you
That's
did.
not the truth.
I don't
Nathan-
think you did.
Nathan
I
was the
don't believe you
first
were
one.
Nathan,
live.
There's no
yeah.
way.
So Jacob hasn't been here since we went live either.
No, he hasn't.
Jacob
But,
hasn't been
Nathan
on
and
live.
Neil.
Nathan
Nathan
and
and
Neil
Neil have
were,
both been
yeah.
on that special episode.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, you're part of our second special episode.
What's up?
Aaron Boyd.
you
Sorry.
go
We'll
ahead
get
and-
to that a little
Go
bit
ahead
later.
and
It's
explain
funny.
the sound too, because I'm noticing it pretty.
The sound?
Yeah,
Oh, it's
go ahead and explain.
just a little bit. It's a little echoey because, her microphone it's a different kind
It's
of microphone
all
than ours.
Aaron's fault.
So, yeah.
No,
Everything is
it's not a
always
bad
Aaron's
thing.
fault.
Ruining
It's not a-
everything.
I just want to give people a heads up,
It's
so
not
that
a
they're
negative
worried.
thing. It's a positive thing.
A positive.
Yeah.
Like
so,
your cable.
oh my gosh, I'm telling you, this
His
has
cable's
been,
not positive now.
all right, everybody out there, this has been I don't know what, this has been the closest we've ever cut it to getting in the studio
Yes.
and getting ready for the show.
About it. I was here on time, ready to go.
Yeah. Keith, first off, you texted, was it in the early afternoon?
Yeah.
That you didn't have a cook tonight.
Yeah.
So you had to stay late at work.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm not going to get here. I'm not
Till,
going
like,
to.
right before.
the show.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, well, that's fine. That we'll all be in place and ready to go.
Ready to go.
So no, that didn't happen at all. So I then had car trouble, and my freaking battery gets me to where I'm going from point A to point B. Had to stop off and pay my AC guy because my AC's out in my house. I pay him, and then I get in my car. My car don't start, and then my battery won't start.
Brandon.
I get my cables ready to get it freaking jumped. Then it won't get jumped by somebody else's. It's all over the place, man.
You don't
Right.
don't touch the positive to the negative end.
Yeah, but after all of the sparks, you're still alone.
Yeah,
you're
you
still
did.
alone in the dark.
You know what I'm
That's
talking
great.
about.
I know exactly what
you
you're
know
talking about.
Reliant K.
But yeah, it's been already just a hectic way to start the show.
I've been here since 5 o'clock, so I don't know.
You know
Yeah,
what I
Sean,
find?
you've
I've been
been in
sitting
place.
outside. I've had food next door.
Sean was the
What
good
did he
one.
have this week?
Hanging out with the
Meatball
neighbors.
subs.
What did he?
Oh,
What?
you
Meatball
serious?
subs with cheese and chips.
Brian, I'm sorry I missed that. I'm so sad. You know
Yeah.
what's funny though, because our first live guest was Neil, or not Neil. It was Nathan. After we saw Dumbo live action.
Yes,
version of Dumbo. So I
exactly.
think it's funny that now our guest
well, I
here
think
is
that's all
after
the more
another
reason that
Disney
we had
live
Aaron
action.
on for
Yeah.
this week.
Aladdin's my favorite.
Your favorite Disney
I
classic?
knew that.
It is.
Wow. So how did? Well, don't jump into it just
Yeah,
yet.
we're
gonna
I know
get
it's
to
before
it.
the review.
Yeah.
But still, that's the reason why you're here this week, is it
Because
not?
Aladdin was your
It is.
favorite. Yeah.
So
But you
we're-
went to see it
here.
at the wrong theater. Isn't that right?
Yeah, yeah. Brandon invited Aaron to come with us, and
Yep.
you didn't make it.
I was in row B,
But who
right where you all told us that you were, and we're like,
Yeah,
there's nobody
yeah.
in row B.
I also believe someone told you Stony Brook IMAX.
Yeah.
Not Tinseltown
I put
XD.
all of the correct information. I'm just saying, and not only that, I was also disappointed because you did take pictures with your newlywed husband,
I did.
Aw.
and I was disappointed because when you told me you were going to come to the show, to the IMAX show, not this show. That was decided later. But when you told me you were coming to the show, you said you were going to be dressed in your entire wedding
I
attire.
said, should I? I didn't say we would.
I was expecting it. And then I saw the pictures, and
Did
you were
not
not in a
happen.
dress. He was not in a tux.
Nope.
I thought it
Why
would
would
have
they
been
do
brilliant.
that?
Because think about it. During A Whole New World, if they would have stood up
Oh,
and started
gosh.
singing
Yeah.
in their wedding, I mean, they would have
Everyone
went
would've hated
viral.
us.
They would have hated you.
No.
Like just
It would've
ruin.
been
Actually,
viral.
They
no,
probably would have been more
I
entertaining.
was
than
gonna
the
say
movie.
that they probably would have made the movie better.
What? Okay.
I think so.
We'll
Yeah.
talk about it
I
later.
think so.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sean?
Are we talking about it now?
No.
Not yet, we gotta go to our review.
We'll talk about it.
Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron,
Gosh.
don't you?
Well, he
hold
keeps
your
trying
horses.
to talk about
He
it.
does. He keeps.
I-
leading
I
them.
really want to talk about it too.
Every time we have a guest, it's chaos.
It is. It's
So
always chaos. So
it's not your fault though. He makes it that
Well,
way.
come on.
does.
I'm
man,
knowing
get it
every time I
together.
try to punch through the show,
Hey,
more than 3
Speaking
people.
of punch,
I think we
where's
should-
the little sound box? Somebody else is supposed to have that.
Yeah, Brandon's hogging it all to himself
Yeah.
today.
What's that?
Yeah.
Brandon,
Can I play with
Brandon.
that? Can I do it?
Should we? Here's the thing, guys.
You
Now
don't
listen.
know the
Last week I
buttons.
said
It got
I
a little
will
old
figure
last
them out.
week.
I was gonna say last week I gave the option that I said once we introduced it, now it's gonna float around and we're gonna give it to new
Well,
people.
it should go to the left.
I was gonna say now should we start with our honorary guest this week?
We should.
As long as you don't wear it out.
Don't be a Brandon with it.
What? What are you?
That's right.
You know what, Brandon? You know what I'm trying to say? Go ahead. You need to hit the button because I am not.
What? Oh,
Which button?
Hold on.
Come on.
Is that the one?
That was
There's
the
so
one.
many because there's mad as hell.
Oh man.
Should I just play through all of
There
them
went
so that?
something.
Just went under the table.
I just
Oh,
threw
no.
it.
I
got
think.
it.
You know what I think you should play?
Keith
I
is-
think you should play that review.
That's what I'm saying.
I know,
We
we're-
guarantee within the
gosh
first 5
sakes.
minutes or something
You
like
have a
that.
Bob
and it
Evans
is now.
little-
I do. I do.
Pop socket.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Should
he
I
got
throw
that
it
at his
back
favorite
towards you?
restaurant.
Yeah, you should throw it back to him.
All
All right,
just
look,
throw it back.
this is off
Yeah,
the rails
review,
already.
review.
We're going to the review. Here's our official review of Aladdin.
Prince Ali, fabulous he, Ali Ababa. Though this new iteration isn't so fabulous after all. Disney, leaving no profitable stone unturned, has finally released the live-action adaptation of Aladdin. And with their previous live-action releases all having varying degrees of success amongst critics and fans, the world waited to see what this new iteration of Aladdin would bring. And honestly, it's no diamond, in the rough or otherwise. Directed by Guy Ritchie, famous for many of his heist films and more recently his adaptations of Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr., Aladdin is the same story we know and love from the 90s animated film. Though being such a massive hit in the 90s, I wasn't expecting a lot of deviation from that plot. Much like Disney's live-action adaptation of Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, just like Beauty and the Beast, adds a few new things, a new song, and a little extra fire to the already independent Princess Jasmine. A new character and a few new background details for characters that honestly end up serving no purpose. Truthfully, all of the new things in the film amount to nothing in the overall plot, which itself suffers from shoddy pacing and poor writing. As in the original, we find Aladdin a street rat in the mesmerizing city of Agrabah, who must steal to survive. He soon runs into Princess Jasmine, who snuck out of the palace to see life on the outside. The two hit it off, Aladdin at some point is arrested, Jafar uses him to get the lamp, Jafar doesn't get the lamp, Aladdin meets the genie, etc., you know the tale. This is the main problem with Aladdin, and it's the same problem that has plagued other Disney live-action remakes. It takes a beloved classic, adds nothing new worth watching, and does the main story a disservice, ultimately making you wonder why you bothered with this new film when the original is so much more superior and available to watch. The film rushes through the plot, maybe to avoid being a carbon copy of the original, but by doing this has also lost a lot of character development necessary for you to root for the characters. Yes, we get a new character and new details about some old characters, but again, they don't actually add any depth to the story. With Aladdin, played by Mina Moussaad, coming off as a generic Broadway caricature, and Jafar, played by Marwan Kenzari, coming off as whiny and spoiled as opposed to menacing, there's truly no reason to care if Aladdin comes out on top, because you don't care much about the character, and even if you did, this Jafar is so unthreatening you aren't even worried about if Aladdin can stop him. The best actor in the film, Naomi Scott, playing Princess Jasmine, gives a solid performance, but is shoehorned into fulfilling the modern-day strong female role who doesn't need anyone but herself. With Jasmine, an already independent character who is a strong female with a mind of her own, they were so focused on making her a hero in her own right that they forgot this film is about Aladdin. I'm not opposed to strong female heroines, but at the end of the film, Aladdin still has to save the day, which creates conflicting themes between these characters. I've saved the best and worst for last, and this is Will Smith as Genie. Let's face it, I did not expect Smith to do well in the role, and surprised he did better than I thought he could. There are moments when Smith makes the role his own, as opposed to imitating Robin Williams, that the character shines. Other times, the film is trying so hard to pay homage to Williams and the past that it stunts Smith's performance, as Will Smith is not and never will be Robin Williams. It just doesn't work. The bulk of the film is just not memorable. Yes, production design and costuming is extravagant, but the cinematography makes the film feel like an ABC live-action musical, and the acting and singing does too. No, these actors are not professional singers, but even still, you can typically, with hours of work and editing, get something decent sounding from your cast. Guy Ritchie, on the other hand, seems to just accept tone-deaf performances and spoken-word song. This film drops the ball in almost every area. From CGI that's horrible to everything else wrong, the only redeeming qualities are the fact that it's still the same basic story. And they do deliver that, just in the laziest and poorest of ways. I give Aladdin 1.5 out of 4 stars.
Are you not entertained?
I felt like that was perfect.
It was. That was actually beautiful.
That
timing.
was better than Brandon.
Yeah. So you actually you hit the button at the right time, Aaron. Good for
Great.
you. First time on the show.
She pushes the right
And
buttons.
they're
Nailed it.
so they're already happier with you having the button than me. So what did you think, Aaron? You went and saw the film with your beloved husband now.
I did, and a few of our other friends. They actually all came.
Oh,
along
really?
Too.
Awesome.
Oh.
Yeah,
They all
they
went
were
to the
all
wrong
gonna watch
theater.
it with all of us, and I took everyone to the wrong theater. So
Good job.
Yeah.
Oh wait, so if you had showed up, were you gonna have like a ton of people?
She's going to
with
have an
you?
entourage.
Well, they were just
How
gonna
many-
sit in the same area, ish.
Ish.
How many people were we talking?
They couldn't sit
Were they
beside
gonna
them
have-
because technically they were still on the honeymoon.
There was.
Oh yeah,
needed to be
that's-
alone.
That's true. Yeah.
One,
You know.
2. There was only 4 more people.
Okay, that's not too bad.
That's 4
No.
more stars than Aladdin get now.
So explain
no,
your
it should
thoughts,
get 1.5.
Man,
Well,
I should have known that you guys would not like this movie.
It wasn't a good movie.
Well, why?
I thought you agreed on
I
Facebook.
would've-
It looked like you
yeah,
agreed.
because you didn't care for Beauty and the
Yeah,
Beast
you made
either.
it sound like
No, I did not care for
See,
Beauty
well, I
and the
thought that
Beast.
was much better than this one.
There were, my opinion, I felt like there were really good parts of it,
There
and
were.
then there were not good parts of it. I don't think I disliked it as much as you guys did. But, so Josh and I were talking about it on the way home, and he was just saying kind of the whole, like, the girl power thing that you talked about, how it was really the fact that she's this strong woman and wanting to save her people and everything, that's admirable. But he was saying, which I totally agree, they should have let it speak for itself instead of, it just felt too pushed. Like they
was.
were
They do
trying to
that
make
in
it
the
a
original
thing.
movie. In the original movie, she is a
She is.
powerful
She's a strong,
character.
independent.
Exactly.
But they don't, she's not like, always like, I have to save my people and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
and
They
Yes.
let the character development.
speechless or whatever.
That song
Exactly.
was
So,
So
terrible.
I thought
Terrible
I
song.
thought all
I
the new
agree.
songs were terrible.
Mhm.
And Josh kept leaning over and he'd go, because he's not familiar with it like I am. He's seen it, but a really long time ago. And he'd go, "Is this one
Shame
of
on
the
Josh.
original songs?" And I go, "Nope." Every time he
Yes,
knew
that it wasn't
without
original.
even
It
knowing.
didn't fit. It didn't fit
'Cause
the
it doesn't-
original.
yeah.
It
No.
didn't, and it was weird because I watched on Instagram. Aladdin has its own like Instagram, and the new writers of these songs were collabing with
The originals,
the
yes.
original.
Well, I was going
and
to say,
he
I mean,
seemed
Alan
to
Menken is the original
like it.
composer.
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't make any sense that they wouldn't have
I
found
was
a way
really
to make them jive.
confused by that because it didn't seem to fit to me. It
Right.
was too.
It was. I know. I agree with that point entirely. I said the same thing to Brandon when we were driving back from the theater. The fact that Jasmine's already a strong, independent female character. I mean, that's the whole point of her like leaving the palace and her being angry over like the whole scene with Jafar, Sultan, and Aladdin arguing about who's going to marry her, and she's like, "You're just standing around deciding my future for me." You know, that character was already a strong female.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to go through all of the things the live action did to show that. But the live action like tried to just push it even further and shove it down your throat.
Yeah.
Well, here's
And
the
I felt like
thing.
it ruined her
I mean,
character more
that,
than it
that
helped.
time period, though, if you're going to be true to the time period and true to the part of the world that it takes place in, there's not really a big deal if she was kind of put down by the. I mean, it
Yeah.
is a big deal if she's put down by her father and other men in her life.
But that would have been,
that was
historic.
that
It
was
would have been a
norm. That was
custom of back
customary.
then,
Yeah.
right,
So
exactly.
I'm like, if they wanted to keep it a little bit grounded in reality, that's not a stretch to have them treat her like that. But in the song that she sings, is it called Speechless?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
Like she's talking about how they've been oppressing her and keeping her locked up in a room, and I'm like, I never saw that in
Not
the
only
movie.
that, but she's a princess.
Yeah.
BS.
Yeah,
She has
I
like
never
the
saw
most
that
free reign
in the
of any
movie.
woman in
Yeah.
that whole city.
Well, here's the thing.
Come on.
Her being the princess and a female, like Sean said, in a historic term, it would have made sense if everything she sung about in the song happened to her, because that would have been that culture. But that was what I thought made the Jasmine in the original cartoon so
Much
so
more
good,
approachable.
was
Yeah,
because they said she's never been outside the palace walls. She's always been stuck where
Locked
she was
in a cage.
Yeah.
And it
and
wasn't
kept
this
in-
whole,
yeah,
in the
exactly.
live action, she's like, well, I want to be sultan and help my people. And in the other one, it's just she wanted to be free. And that made sense because, like Sean said, from a historic purpose, it's like women didn't have any freedoms in that culture. So the fact that she wanted to just have that freedom, I thought was good. And then it just, they pushed too hard. I agree with Aaron. They pushed too hard in the live action.
So
version.
wait, real quick, we're just running around through everybody in the circle. It's like, so I think we all agree here at Red Moon with 1.5 out of 4 stars.
Yeah.
But Miss Erin Boyd, what would you?
I would say 2.5.
2.5.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
A whole
Man.
star.
She's like a whole star and like
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah,
half
I
a
mean,
star.
We'll give it 1.5.
One
So
and a
2.5
half,
would
so
just
yeah,
be 1
2.5
star.
stars.
Oh, it is.
didn't-
I'm
Can't do
terrible
Do the
at
math,
math.
Brandon.
It's in math.
Do the math.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I didn't like that part of it, and another part I didn't like was the whole, like, I felt like in the cartoon they created that bond between Genie and Aladdin so well, and I did not feel like it was there at all.
Agreed,
in this
completely.
movie. So it didn't
Yeah.
make sense for him to have compassion for him or
Yeah.
want to
Exactly.
save him,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
It's
I felt like
I
that
was,
was weird.
as soon
It's
as he
very
goes to
funny.
see him at in the bottom of the lake, and he's just, or the whatever that is, I don't know, the bay.
Go ahead.
He's just sitting there, and I'm like, why do you feel the need to save him
Yeah.
at this point? It's like,
He
what do you
hasn't
mean
done
you're
it.
They
Friend.
didn't,
friends?
they
Before
didn't
we
develop a connection
No,
between
not
the
at
two
all.
of them.
So let me elaborate a little bit because it's funny because you keep hitting these points that I have the same problems with, but we're landing at different star ratings. So we'll elaborate a little bit because this
Yeah,
is
go
another
ahead,
this is
yeah.
another thing me and Brandon talked about. You're right. They didn't build up the friendship. It's funny because the cartoon's only a 90-minute cartoon, and this is 2 hours and 8 minutes. Yet somehow there
They
was more
missed all these
character
crucial
development
points.
in the cartoon, and it's 38 minutes shorter. And what bothered me is they didn't have the friendship built with Genie and Aladdin very well. Abu and Carpet are both non-characters in the live-action version. Like they're very distinct characters in the cartoon, and I
Yes.
felt like Carpet really wasn't anything in this other than a ride, and Abu was he wasn't. He wasn't his own character. He was just
He was an
a way to
Uber.
get around.
That's all he was.
And then Abu's only purpose in the live-action version was to steal crap for Aladdin.
Yes.
Like it's like he was a Deus Ex Machina. It's like Aladdin needs to get out of a script.
So
Who's going to
it-
steal
it's kinda
something
right.
for him?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's cool, I guess. But if that's his only shtick, it's like you could have come up with something more creative. There's no purpose really. Even when they turn him into an elephant, like right after the Prince Ali's song, he's back to being a monkey.
Well,
And
I was
I'm
going
like,
to
how
say,
did
the
that
one
happen?
scene
Yeah.
that I really remember from, which I loved in the original, in the cartoon, but I missed all this in this version, was the fact that you have Abu as the elephant and the Carpet, and then they get upset with Aladdin for how greedy and selfish he's
Yeah.
become, and you see them walking away, and it's like, and Aladdin like hearkening back to them saying, no, like please come back, and they're like disappointed with him.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
And
right after he tells Genie, he's like, I can't use
Yeah.
my third wish. And even that scene in the live action, like
Well,
Will
that's what
Smith's
I'm
just
saying.
like, oh, well, I just thought we were friends. I broke the rules to save your life, but that's
I really thought you were going to come through
and,
for me.
and
yeah.
it just didn't have the same emotional impact. Like
Right.
Robin Williams could be silly, but he also knows how to nail like those scenes and
Yes.
drive home
Yeah.
the emotion.
Yeah.
And it's not that I think Will Smith can't, because I've seen plenty of movies where he's done emotion.
I Am Legend.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
So, but it really comes down to, I think Guy Ritchie really is just, I don't care for Guy
Okay.
Ritchie as
Yeah.
a
No,
director.
no,
at
He's
all.
had his moments.
He's had his moments,
But
but
another
he's
point
not-
to hit on that, I mean, and you brought it up beautifully in the review. It's like, regardless of the fact that you had all of these other like terrible moments, the camera work and the cinematography made it look like, it was an ABC live show
Yeah.
Yep.
on TV. It also had the issue with the songs not being really sung by any of the cast members. They were, a lot of the lines were spoken.
Naomi Scott,
and
I
it's like,
thought, was the only
she
one.
was the only one that
who
actually
had a good
decent
singing voice.
Yeah.
But other than her, I mean, there's a certain like even like One Jump, that song.
Oh, it
when
was
they're-
awful.
Every
the
time
moment he
Aladdin
started,
opened his mouth,
he
and
kept-
it's always the
it was
song
like,
when
is he
they're-
tone deaf?
The back and forth about, because I watched the original like right after the live action, so I think that that's one reason also that it irks me, because I could see everything it did right and everything because I went home like the next day and watched the original. There's when they're when they're going back and forth and fighting, and they're calling him street rat, scoundrel, and then they say like take that. The guards sing that in the original animated version. They throw like swords and stuff at him and say take that. In the live action version, Aladdin gets that line, and he goes, "Take that!" and he throws something, and I'm like, what is that? That's awful.
Yeah.
There's so many instances.
Well, just right from the beginning with Will Smith on the boat and starting
it goes into
the
Arabian
song,
Nights.
Like that was like from that moment, my confidence.
He started
was
singing,
gone.
and I was like,
I hardly had any for the movie. But
I tell Brandon they changed a lot of lyrics in some of the songs because they were trying to make them less racist. Some I'm kind of feel like
some also were originally changed from the cartoon version
when
they brought it out on home video.
The original theatrical version of Arabian Nights, he says, where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. Immediately in theaters when that released, people were like, that's kind of racist. So for every home video release after the theatrical release, like that lyric never made it to a home video release. Immediately they changed it to it's flat and immense, and the heat is intense. It's barbaric, hey, it's home.
Which I thought,
so
honestly,
that's
for a
fine.
lyric change, it was fine.
I feel like that line is fine
works.
because now you're talking about the desert and the sand and the heat, and that heat can be barbaric. They changed it even further in this because apparently the word barbaric is just racist, I guess.
Yeah.
And they changed it to where they did. He said where he's and Will Smith makes this a line about
said crap whole country.
Every culture.
Agrabah's not even real.
But he changed the line to like every culture and tongue.
That was a Trump line. So
like he makes something reference to like every culture and tongue under the sun. He said it's chaotic, but hey, it's home. And I'm like, why did they need to change that further?
Word? Yeah.
It's like now you're just kind of you're equating these people with barbarism. So now you all are being the racist.
Well, I thought the only moments that Will Smith even shined as the genie were the moments that he was doing his own lines. Like anytime he tried to channel Robin Williams, I thought he failed.
Yes, well,
miserably.
that was another instance that I was kind of questioning.
Voice that he used to be the genie. Like,
yeah,
when he was.
I don't know. It was just
He tried to do the voice changes like Robin Williams did.
Yeah.
Like there were certain times, like when he did when he did the the itty bitty living space,
it like 3 times.
And then Friend Like Me when he does, he's like, I'm your way to I'm your mate. Yeah. He tried to do like the French like Robin Williams did, but it was nowhere near as. I mean, Robin Williams is just a master of voice.
Well, he could change his voice so good. Yeah.
And I really wish.
Much love for Will Smith.
I agree, but I feel like part of the time he was doing his own thing and it worked. Part of the time he was doing, and I wish they hadn't tried to do this balance of let's Will Smith do his thing and then we'll do the homages to Robin Williams. I wish they had just stuck with one or the other, and more preferably they just said, Will Smith, it's your role.
Make it your own.
When he had like those little like when he kind of changed into rap a little bit in a few of the songs, it's like that works for Will Smith.
As soon as they get out of the Cave of Wonders, like I was already I was kind of worried when I saw the song "Friend Like Me."
Yeah.
And I was already
it
like,
wasn't very good.
It was not good. And then of course you have the Arabian Nights opening. So I'm like, what are we about to really get into?
Well, you didn't even see the very beginning of that.
I don't want
that.
to.
That's great.
But the thing is as soon as they come out, and then he sets up the tent area and he's like trying to explain to him.
Was good.
There was
that
a glimmer
was
of
beautiful.
hope. Yeah.
It was fantastic. And I was
the whole Prince moment.
Yeah, them playing off of each other, it was fantastic. So I'm sitting here thinking, all right, well maybe I'll give Will Smith a chance. But again, like you said in your review, it's not the worst part of the film, but there's so much more that could have been done if they could have just given him that push and said, you just do you, just be Will Smith, continue going down that road. And not only that, but I really do think, like, again, moments like where the jams, the whole like goofball moment when he gets him there, that could have been a real honorable moment of like him joking about him saying it too much, but also him nudging him to be like, give him some real pointers and develop that relationship. So there were so many missed opportunities where they were trying to go for a comomedic touch, and it was overboard and it didn't pay off comedically, and it also didn't.
They bypassed the relationship between him and the genie by drawing out those comedic moments instead of, like you said, giving him some pointers and trying
so many moments in the cartoon where Genie's like, you need to tell her the truth. You need to be yourself. That's how you're going to win her. And you never really had that in this movie.
No.
You never really had Will. I mean, he did mention once. He's like, "Well, I think the best way to go about it is just, be yourself." And that was it.
But it was literally.
He did tell him, "I just changed the outside. I didn't change anything
on
the inside." And that was like kind of
that was good, but it wasn't.
It wasn't enough for him to cheat and save his life at the
Exactly.
The bottom
So-
of the bay.
And then my biggest problem.
Under the water.
My biggest
Under
problem
the
with
sea.
this
We both said it.
wrong movie. My biggest problem with
It's
this
coming.
movie, though,
It's
here
coming.
it is, it's coming.
And well, Sean, what was your point too? What they should do when they bring out Aladdin?
What?
With the actor.
I already
He said he
it.
should do the same actor for
Did you?
Eric.
You didn't say it
I
on
said
here.
that
You
on
said it
live,
during
didn't
the
I?
review.
Oh no, in the Aladdin cartoon, or Nathan would probably kill us for calling it a cartoon. It's an animated feature, right? But
Yeah, he would be
yeah, they
upset.
used the same drawing for Aladdin as they did for Eric in The Little Mermaid. So they should use the same actor
That's
to be in The Little
The
Mermaid.
only problem I have with that is he's like a
Terrible.
off-Broadway actor,
Yeah.
and it's like
that was
no.
the major issue I had with the film was the acting. It was
Here's my major problem. with the film.
everybody.
I mean, one, those small touches that create the character depth. But I'm going to get into because I think the biggest character that they messed up with was also the character
Yes.
development was Jafar. You don't. I didn't care whether they were going to succeed or not because I never felt like Aladdin was in any real threat. Jafar was not threatening. He was just whiny. He was just. And they didn't like I said the original cartoon. I told Brandon right after Arabian Nights ends. You know, the merchant says, you know, we begin on a dark night with a dark man with a dark purpose. And that's like a 3 seconds with those 3 lines that sets up everything you needed to know about Jafar. And then it goes into his interaction with the thief and him trying to get the thief to go into the Cave of Wonders to steal the lamp. And that doesn't work. And then, you know, I mean, the thief basically dies. The cave collapses on him. And Jafar's like, oh, well, now we got to find this diamond in the rough. Like, he doesn't care about his life. And you see, like, through everything he does throughout the movie, you know, his how evil and menacing he is. And in the live action version, he just felt like a wimp. I was like, I didn't care for him at all.
He's a Kylo Ren.
He was very soft spoken. He was just very like, I'm going to have all the power. He's like, if you don't have power, you're nothing. And it's like, but why? Like, he never felt menacing. They hint at, you know, he used to be this homeless street rat like Aladdin, but that never goes anywhere except for when he needs to pickpocket the lamp off of him. Yeah. And it's like, okay, he
well,
can
here's
do
my
that 'cause he was
question
a street
about that.
rat.
1 second he's in prison, and the next scene he's picking the lamp from him. Who
Yago
let him
brought
go?
him the key.
Huh?
Remember, Yago brings the key to it.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I must have
Yago
fell
flies
asleep.
him and lands
Well,
on thing.
you were just bored.
No, I'm just like I
Yeah.
completely missed
Well,
that.
even
okay,
Yago
but
was
again,
terrible.
another problem with this 2-hour film over the 90-minute film is
Yeah.
there are exposition moments that could have been much more explanatory
Yeah.
than they were, such as
But-
when Jafar pickpockets him right before they go in to try to say, hey, I kind of had a similar
Yeah,
life
but then
like
after
you.
that, the
And then yet it-
Sultan says you should have left when you had the chance.
Well, I
Oh,
guess
When
he
did
meant
he
like
have the
was-
chance?
when he escaped jail. I guess they're like, well, Jafar escaped. Well, hopefully he never comes back. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, it's just they kind of took too much for granted that like and I hate
People
this.
had already seen.
That's what I hate about
these
book
movies.
adaptations and remakes is they're like, well, people already know the story, so we don't have to go into a lot of.
Let's get away
character
from how
development.
terrible the movie was, and let's talk about that real quick because we still have Lion King coming out, and it is another movie that, based on the trailers, looks like it's going to be exactly
A
like
carbon
the,
copy.
Okay,
Yes.
well, wait. Before y'all,
Go
first
ahead.
off, I'm like feeling like Eeyore over here. Y'all are bumming me out with all this.
Aw.
negative
Oh,
stuff.
that's true. All right,
ahead, go
let's
ahead.
turn it to Aaron. Let's see if there's any because you gave it 2.5.
Let's see
Yeah.
if there's
So
anything
we'll
of
let you
value
defend
have to
it.
offer.
Me personally, as being a fan of the cartoons or animated features or whatever Nathan calls them, they're cartoons in my book. I'm not a.
Not a stick.
He
I'm
already,
not a
he already called you a
fanatic.
Judas.
Um,
That's what it says. How dare you call it
Lord.
a cartoon, Judas?
But me falling in love with those cartoons, I have an issue with change. I don't really want them to change. I don't care if they like want to try to describe certain things or like add a little bit. But what I really liked about the movie were the parts that were like dead on, like the whole new world scene. I love that. I felt like it was dead on because to me what it is it's bringing to life. Like if it was real life, this is what it would have looked like. I don't really want anything to change.
I agree with you to an extent that yes, that I do want to see it brought to life, and I think that's where I'm disappointed with Aladdin is I feel like they didn't bring it to
Right.
life in a justified
no,
way.
I agree. I agree.
I felt
but-
like they did in some ways, yes, and there are parts because I'm like here we are trashing it, but there are parts that were good. Like I mean, we do
and
agree
the
that
Cave
there were
of Wonders, I thought that was off. I mean, it was a little off. There were a couple of things they did different. Like, I'm a stickler as far as wanting to be like the movie. I didn't even like how the jewel fell instead of him picking it up and grabbing it from the, what was it, Buddha or something?
Yeah, but out of the
it.
statue that had
He
it,
picked it up out of the, so I didn't like that was different.
A
but
small,
I
subtle
loved
touch.
the Cave of Wonders and how that was set up, and it was so just real.
Although, again, even hitting on that, I was disappointed with how fast-paced it was. And again, which is odd because it's
The
a
whole
2-hour
movie-
film.
the whole
But
movie
it was
felt like it
how they
was
were
very
moving
fast-paced.
from one thing to the other. It was like, I know they wanted to add in the scenes with the new songs, like the speechless moment, which...
Or the
It
handmaiden.
was not necessary.
Right, it wasn't. And I thought, honestly, even in that scene, I thought it was poorly shot and poorly done with how much money they spent on the movie. I just thought they could have been a little bit more creative with it. But when you get into the Cave of Wonders, like, even just them taking him there, having the small explanation beforehand to set it up, and then he's in there for, like, what, maybe
It's very
5
quick.
minutes before he gets the lamp and lets Genie out?
Yeah, the whole
And
thing's
then all of
very
a sudden,
quick.
I don't know, I was a little bit disappointed with, there was no, every single moment where there was supposed to be tension or there was supposed to be a moment of, oh no, I don't know if he's going to make
Or
it.
just a moment of
It
like
didn't feel like that.
awe-inspiring. It's like
Yeah.
he finds
Yeah.
carpet, and this is supposed to be a moment like, wow, a magic carpet. Like that's something that you find out that's real.
But like you said,
And
they
in this-
kind of reacted as if you'd
it's like,
seen
oh,
the
well.
animated feature, so you knew it was coming.
Like Aladdin
So-
finds this magic carpet. It's like, well, we're in a cave of wonders. That makes sense. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, it's a magic carpet. It's like, okay, I would be like, holy crap, that's
Now
a
wait
magic
a second.
carpet.
Okay, now to go back real quick, because every time Aaron makes a decent point about the film,
We shoot it down.
immediately start.
Yeah, come
Crapping
on.
on
Say
it.
some good thing. It wasn't.
It's because you're
it
wrong,
was
Aaron.
not that.
No, what you're
horrible.
supposed to do is defend yourself and
Yeah.
help us
Yeah, help
be
us.
encouraged to give it a better
Because
star.
here's my
rating.
thing. I think Beauty and the Beast was a much better adaptation and live action film than this is of Aladdin. And I know you hated that
It's
one.
been a while since I've seen it, so that's hard. Another thing that I think too is I want to watch Aladdin again one more time
You need
because
to.
I'm so stuck on how the cartoon is. I'm like, well, maybe I'm just not wanting to change, so maybe it's better than.
No, the
what I'm
cartoon was
thinking
definitely
that it
better
Well,
is.
and that's gonna be
action.
that was kind of my question is with this being your favorite Disney cartoon, I'm kind of like, wouldn't you have been more critical? But
Yeah,
are you,
I
do you
mean,
feel
it
like you're
could-
less
it
critical
definitely could
because
have
of
been
it?
better, but I don't feel like it's as bad as you guys are making. it
But
out
so
to be.
you would
I would
actually
say go see it.
But oh well, I don't know. I wouldn't. I don't know. It was.
There we go again.
My sister-in-law.
Go see Aladdin, everybody.
If you
No,
have
don't
children,
go
if
see-
you have children that like the cartoon, yes, they'll enjoy it.
My sister-in-law texted me the day after and was like, "For one, is it appropriate for my kids, and will they like it?"
Yeah.
And I said yes and yes. I was like, "But you won't." I was like, "For me, it's strictly as an adult. I didn't like the acting. I thought it was." It bored me to tears, and it was off. It was laughable in some parts, and then I
Take
thought,
that.
but I thought even in most parts of the film, I just wasn't entertained. I was more like, there were certain parts that
Aaron, hit the button.
I was.
What?
Are you
What'd I
not
do?
entertained?
Oh,
Are you not
There we
entertained?
go.
She's getting
I'm
it
trying not to overplay
That's
it.
my favorite button.
Yeah.
to push.
She's like, yeah.
And
Killing me, Smalls.
There you
That's mine because that's true, Keith. You're killing me all the time.
Well, just wait until you get Anakin on there. That'll be my favorite button.
go. Yes.
It's working. It's coming. Don't worry, and
I
I'll
hope so.
push it all the time. But anyway, all right. I think we're done crapping all over Aladdin. We've been doing it enough.
It wasn't.
It's not as
it wasn't
bad
total
as
crap,
they're making it
according to
out
Aaron.
to be. Facebook
It's
Live.
pretty terrible.
Go see Aladdin. Tell us what you think. Email us.
It's the second.
Oh,
word.
shoot!
And tell
She's
us
catching
your
me off
thoughts
guard.
of
Hold on.
Aladdin.
Yeah,
I gotta
we're
get
supposed
it
to do
up.
that at the end.
Yeah.
Oh no, hold on.
Well, we
It's-
could change. Well, no, Aaron doesn't like change. Stop it, Aaron.
Spontaneous. I don't like
you
change
don't,
from the
you don't
cartoons.
change the originals though. There's a reason Aladdin is a classic.
Exactly.
The cartoon, but the live action isn't the cartoon. Leave
Yeah.
the cartoon
But
be.
I just want to see the cartoon come to life.
I know, but
I want to
don't.
see things that aren't classic. Here's my thing. If something's like it's like Ben-Hur. When it's a classic, it's like how do you like why remake something like
Yes,
that?
yeah.
You remake something only if you have something new to offer.
Yeah.
If you can't extrapolate and make like something new and unique with the remake, then it doesn't need to be remade. That's how I feel about it. I could see like
I would
Judge
agree
Dredd
if they made
deserved
another
it.
cartoon of Aladdin, but I feel like the live action film is bringing something new
Wait,
to
so
it.
you're saying they should just remake their cartoons now?
No, I'm
Wait
saying.
for it.
Wait,
Don't
should-
give Disney ideas.
Should they just do
They'll do it.
CGI everything
No, I
like
said
Lion
no.
King?
I would
mean,
say if they made another cartoon of Aladdin, then I would say there's no need to redo that. But if you're doing it live action film, the newness that you're bringing to it is real life.
Is
It's
the
no
live action.
longer-
I will
okay, but this
say-
is where we
let me-
made
let
the
me say
argument.
something real
Okay,
quick,
yeah,
because
go ahead, go ahead.
I agree with her to the extent of I do enjoy seeing
What?
the.
You agree
I
with
enjoy
me about
seeing
something?
the things that I remember from my childhood brought into the
Yeah.
future. Like when Transformers came out, no.
Yes.
I'm not. Don't stay.
Transformers
Stay.
is
Sit,
good.
Aaron.
Hey,
Sit.
hey, hey.
Listen, Transformers blew my mind as a spectacle when
Yes,
I was.
it did.
But Bumblebee
But-
brought me back to my childhood.
Yes.
That was a good live
Exactly.
action representation of the Transformers I grew up with. The other ones were not. They looked cool.
Cool action
Shia LaBeouf
scenes.
is
yeah.
funny at times, but Bumblebee was a fantastic film that brought me back to an 8-year-old again.
You speak the
And-
true, Sean.
If they would do that with these kind of movies, if Disney would do that, then I would be fine with it. But when they're taking the amazing classic and just updating it with live characters
And terrible CGI.
and terrible acting, though, I mean it's
Yeah.
it's pathetic
It-
when
it-
when a cartoon genie
Has better
can
acting
put out more
skills.
emotion
Yes.
than an actual live person.
I
That's
agree.
true.
Genie
That
could've
like
been
Will
better.
Smith, like that's one of the reasons it amazes me that Robin Williams made the genie and Aladdin have this connection, and he shows the emotions when Aladdin tells him, "I'm not going to be able to use my third wish to set you free." The cartoon genie will make you cry. Will Smith
Did you
did
cry on the
nothing.
cartoon Aladdin?
Yes. Yes,
What?
I'm not
She's
afraid-
laughing.
I'm not
She's
scared to admit
laughing
that.
at
Such
you
a
for being
jerk.
an
I mean,
emotional
that's
man.
a connection.
You know
But
how
there's
many
no-
times I've cried, Aaron?
I cried when the movie was over.
I'm not saying it's not okay to cry.
No,
I
I'm
just didn't
just
deem
saying, but
Aladdin as a cryable.
No, the connection between when he tells him he can't use that and
He's
set
such a
him
jerk.
free.
Here's what's
That's
what's
something
even
from the
sadder.
start he's
There's
looked forward
Dumbo.
to.
He cried during the live action Dumbo.
Okay,
That was the
listen,
only
listen.
thing because it was the
No,
part
it
the baby
but
be mine.
I closed my
I-
eyes and cried because
you
of
were
the
thinking
song.
about
because I was thinking about the cartoon.
right.
That
I
song.
was thinking about when that song is played in the cartoon, and it put me in tears.
It's-
But the moment I opened my eyes and saw what I was actually looking at, it stopped it.
you were
immediately.
crying for a
It
different
was like
reason.
somebody turned off the
Yeah.
faucet.
The original Dumbo makes me cry. Too.
Yes,
It's such a beautiful
absolutely.
movie, and the live action one was crap.
But ultimately, I agree with you, Sean. It's like to me, the live action is not enough of a reason. It still has to be done.
it's supposed to be good.
It has to be good, but also it's just
true.
like when you're actors, it just felt, pardon my French, half-assed, and I'm kind of ticked that I'm like, that's why all of these live action movies.
It wasn't
movies
half-assed. It
has-
was Guy
You
Ritchie.
mentioned the way it was shot, but I mean, even that made it feel so
Cheap.
fake and cheap.
It felt cheap.
It did. It was like
it felt
The
like
Sound
it
of
was a
Music
cheap
Live.
knockoff
It
that they
was
were
like
just
a
trying
Broadway.
to cash in on.
I think.
Yeah.
I think.
And that's why I'm
we've-
disappointed.
We've.
We've hammered away.
We've
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've bullied
I feel
this
pretty
film
beaten
enough.
up.
You
sorry.
shouldn't.
You make good points.
You had good points and a
You
valid
did
opinion.
give Transformers 4 out of 4 stars. You did. And
I
we've talked about it many times.
I've written that out of my head.
The
'cause
last
I don't
night.
even remember.
I
The
don't
last
remember
night,
that,
She
but
gave
yeah.
4 out of 4 stars, I think.
What?
The last night Transformers.
I don't think she gave that one.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
It couldn't have been that bad.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, we all know I'm not a movie expert.
You're not. You
I'm
are.
a movie watcher.
You're good.
Okay,
That's
but
fine.
okay,
what we need.
and that's why
That's a
I'm
valid
glad we have
opinion.
a headline this week.
Oh, does
that-
it have something to do with watching movies?
Watching movies, and I think actually this is gonna be great because Aaron, would
I
you
don't know if I'm
consider
ready for
yourself
this
part of
either.
the general audience
I'm a general audience kind of girl.
goer? Okay,
Huh.
perfect. So
Huh.
then this will kind of fit into the Aladdin discussion because word is on the street that yes, it has been said Sonic is going to be delayed.
Oh, it's
To
delayed to
redesign.
2020. Yeah.
for it's going to be coming out on Valentine's Day next year.
I know.
So
I'm
with
taking
Sonic,
my wife to see it for Valentine's Day.
so romantic. Gotta go fast.
hey.
What?
Oh,
I don't. I
man.
just. It's funny because I think their excuses. They're changing. They're completely redesigning Sonic because the trailer came out and fans were like, "That looks like hot garbage," which it did.
Yeah.
So now they're like, "Okay, we'll redesign Sonic and make fans happy, and we're gonna push it back to February to allow this." And it's like, no, you're pushing it back to February not to just allow the CGI, but because the movie's garbage. So it's like we're gonna push it into a slot where
yeah.
no
Well, I
one.
was gonna say we don't want it to already get overlooked during award season, so we're gonna push it back even further
Yeah.
to give us more time. Look, it's hot garbage.
Look,
it's
they
hot
can
garbage.
they can redesign Sonic. That's not the only thing wrong with that
But
trailer.
all that
Right.
being said,
Can they
You
redesign
said no,
Jim
you're
Carrey?
not.
I want to
That's
see Jim
funny.
Carrey redesigned completely.
You know what?
Can you redesign his brain?
Should Jim Carrey have done the genie?
Yes.
You think that would have
Oh,
It would have been great.
No.
Come on. It would have been way more
Who do you think
entertaining.
would have done the genie the best? Is there somebody you all would have pictured?
It's hard to top Robin. I don't know how you
It
top
is
that.
hard to top him.
Yes.
It's
but-
like an iconic character that you just shouldn't redo.
You shouldn't.
And it's like
They
that,
should've just-
that alone makes it a cult or a timeless
Yeah.
classic is Robin Williams himself.
Mm.
But again, and this that kind of ties into the headline
Kevin
because
Hart would.
Oh my God.
Kevin Hart
He would have actually
bad.
fit
been a
in the
funny
lamp.
Genie.
That would have
He would have fit in the lamp.
But he would have actually been much better, I think,
He
than
would-
Will
he
Smith. Kevin Hart would have made it his
that
own,
was
I
actually a
think.
really
Yeah.
good pick.
That's not bad.
That's not
yeah.
bad. See, she's not just a general
Okay.
moviegoer.
Good job. Good job.
Nailing it
Nailing it.
on this keyboard.
Live episode. First live episode. Nailing
Good
it.
job.
So no, but if for instance, let's say Aaron wanted to start a petition online for Kevin Hart to become Genie.
Well, everybody
and then
does.
it took off, and then all of a sudden, man, we're seeing the studios respond and say, "All right,
In
y'all want
Aladdin
to see
2,
that?
Kevin Hart's going to be the genie.
Aladdin 2, dreams come true."
It's Return of Jafar, Brandon. Gosh.
Yeah.
No, what's King of Thieves? Which one is
That's
that?
the third one.
Oh, is that? Oh, that they had 3.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had 3.
And Robin Williams did not do the voice of Genie in Return of Jafar.
I didn't
He
care
did.
for the second.
He
or
did
third
come back
Aladdin.
and do it for King of Thieves, though. There was a dispute between him and Disney. When he agreed to do Genie,
He
wanted-
agreed to do them all anytime
no,
they
no.
had the character.
He agreed to do it only if the character did not. He could not take up more than like 25% of the poster. He didn't want his like him being the promotional
Oh,
thing.
right,
He wanted the movie to
right.
stand on its own. He didn't want them to use him as a
As the
gimmick to
selling
sell the
point.
movie.
Yeah.
And Disney agreed to that and went right ahead and used Robin Williams' name to promote the movie anyways. So after the movie came out, he refused to voice Genie like when they made the sequels and the cartoon. But after Michael Eisner, I forget who left, and then the person that took over after made up with him and was like, "We're sorry, that it was wrong. Let's, we'd love for you to come back," and he agreed and came back and did King of Thieves. So
then okay,
History lesson.
but it
Wow.
was beautiful. Thank you for
all
that.
because Robin
I'm so
Williams
happy.
was not
Nathan would be proud.
He was not a greedy jerk. He did not want. He wanted the movie to.
Well,
to
and that's
stand on its
partly
own.
why we don't have any bit of these 15 plus hours of audio recordings that he did for Genie being used in any of the other Aladdins. It's part of the same reason. His estate is like, no,
He
that's
put
for
in
the
his
vault.
will that for
Can't do
20
that.
years they can't use any of that material.
But all this being said, the question still remains.
Yeah.
Should fans or trolls or whoever create all this buzz and drum up this controversy online, should they have the power and the ability to make studios make these decisions and put movies on delay? And even if they should, even if studios respond, because the thing is I'm all for, hey, the consumer is always right, quote unquote. And it's like, but the question is, with Sonic being the movie that it is and having the following it does, is it really worth their time to
Well, is
go
it
back
worth
and
their money?
or
'Cause
worth their
the
money?
they're going to spend extra money to change this.
CGI is
and-
expensive.
Yeah,
I
and they're
mean,
not going to
that's-
make a lot of money off this. Well,
You don't
no,
know.
I
That's
don't know.
They're banking
Sonic's
on the
got
fact
a big
that
name,
and they're
so-
banking off the fact that obviously the movie would not have been done
Here's
if
the
they
thing.
didn't think it could draw some kind of box office buzz.
I'm going to answer your question with a question because you
Oh.
say should
Ooh.
should audiences have that power? The thing is, they can't have that power unless studios allow them to. So
Right.
should studios listen?
That's
to audiences?
exactly.
Because it's like, at the end of the day, I can make any petition I want, but if nobody, if everybody looks at it and is like, I'm not signing that.
But that's my
stupid.
point. My point is should they have that power in the sense that so people drum it up, but then studios say, okay, we'll listen.
I think
Because to me that kind of is an admission of failure.
It depends on the studio and it depends on the people in charge. I think if fans come up with something that is legitimately a great idea that would help a movie and the studio recognizes that and is like, you know what?
Because what about all the times where you have these rumors release about Star Wars, and there's some times where it's like when you talk about a fan base,
Oh, yeah.
Star Wars
Yeah.
has it,
Well,
and they come up with
that's
some
why,
great,
That's
great
why
lore.
we're getting episode 9 why we're getting the
Right.
episode 9 we are getting is because of fans. Because they saw Last Jedi and they said no.
Yeah.
And that's why we got JJ back. That's why they have completely. I mean, he's almost he's almost taking all of Last Jedi out of the equation.
They've already alluded several times that Rey's parentage is going to be they're basically
Flipped.
said that
Yeah.
oh yeah, we're changing that and we're going to reveal who her parents are. It's like, oh, so
Well, good.
right.
Yeah.
So
Good.
it's like,
So I mean,
yeah.
okay, but
I
even
think
in that
fans-
sense, it's a
I think
positive
I
thing.
think people should have the power to do that, but here's the thing: they shouldn't have to. The studios should listen first to the fans. I mean, you got to understand, Sonic the Hedgehog. That's what we're supposed to be talking about. We're off topic, but still,
That's all
Well,
in the
it's
same.
general.
it's all
they
in the
have
same
test
ballpark.
audiences
Yeah.
before anything is even announced. They have test audiences. They have people watching this, looking at drawings, looking at artwork. They were probably told 1,000 times over, this looks like crap. This does not look like Sonic the Hedgehog. This is not going to fly with fans of the game.
I was going to say, I want to
and
see.
they did it anyway.
Right.
And I'm telling you that they do this, and there's no way that if they listened to fans to begin with, that there would be a petition like this. If the writers of Game of freaking Thrones would have listened to fans, there would not be a petition for a whole new season.
Here's the thing, though. This is my question to go back
But
to
Game
something
of Thrones is very
real quick.
divided.
Well, divided, but also before that, think about Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of speculation about how the direction that was going to go. But to me, I was thoroughly and pleasantly surprised knowing they already had a plan in place. They were confident in their vision, and they didn't want to spoil anything. And they knew that even giving a hint out to anybody who had stumbled upon the message, that there's a chance it could spoil something. And so to me, I
get
was in
that.
favor
I
of the
think-
studio
but
making the
there's
bold
a-
choice to say, we're not going to make changes. Even if something comes along the line, it's like, wow, that's actually a really good idea.
I think there's a
But
difference there.
that's a competent group of people that have already shown their success through 22 films.
True.
I think it's safe to say they're going to do the end justice. But for a new IP like this, not new, but to bring it into life
Right.
for the first time, yes, you should probably
Do a little
check
bit-
with fans and see if the real world is going to like what you're
I think
doing.
what the difference here is, because I mean, obviously, when they started going into the whole Avengers things, they still didn't. I mean, yeah, they have all movies have test audiences that don't say I like this, I don't like this, but they didn't with Iron Man.
I just
say,
want to know what fat dude was in a test. I said, yeah, Sonic, it looks,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good. It looks pretty
But
good.
here's the thing: when they made the first Iron Man or the first Avengers, they didn't really, it was still they didn't go to fans. I think the difference is because the fans were making those movies. And it's like if you have
That's
a
true.
studio,
Yeah.
if you
Very
have a
good point.
studio
That's true.
that cares about the material and
That's
the people
true.
making the movie love the material, I think that makes all the difference.
But Ryan
Doug-
Johnson said he was a huge Star Wars fan.
But
and I'm
Ryan
like,
Johnson
Aren't we
was,
all?
But he
Aren't we
was
all Star
more,
Wars fans?
Ryan Johnson was more concerned with subverting expectations than making a solid movie.
Right.
And that's the difference.
He didn't want to make a traditional Star Wars film that fit
He
with
wanted
all
to
the
make
rest
his
of
own
it, his
movie.
own.
Yeah.
And it's
to
like,
make
I'm
him
sorry,
different.
it's not about you. It's about the story. And you can't ignore the story that's already set up. And that's how I feel like Guy Ritchie, I'm sure he likes Aladdin just fine. But I don't think he's the guy that's like, oh, yeah, that's like my favorite movie ever.
I
I
don't think
really
he
want to
ever
make a
saw it.
live action. He probably didn't. And it's like, that's the difference with Jon Favreau, who loved Iron Man. I mean, he loves the Disney classics. I mean, it showed in The Jungle Book. It may not be the best movie, but it showed that
maybe
he cared.
there's hope for Lion King.
And that's
then.
why I say I'm not looking forward to Lion King because it looks like a carbon copy, but I do trust that Jon Favreau is a big
Here's the
enough
thing,
fan
I
that
feel
he'll
like
do
it's
it justice.
a carbon copy, and I won't be happy with it being a carbon copy, but I will be happy if it at least pulls off the same emotional tone as the cartoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
If it can do that,
And I
then
think
I'll
Jon
be happy
Favreau
with it.
can. You know,
Right.
I mean, he's a good
Exactly.
director. And I think that's what it comes down to. The people making Sonic probably aren't, huge Sonic the Hedgehog fans. They probably just like, well, this is a popular IP. Oh yeah, rings are in the game. Let's use those somehow. Got a little Doctor Strange portals. He throws a ring, and it's like Dr. Robotnik. How'd he get a start? Oh, he was some crazy scientist. And it's like,
And so we picked the thinnest
Yeah.
comedian to play him.
well,
which
there
doesn't
is
make any
there is
sense
a
at
brief
all.
clip at the very end where
Where
it shows
he's-
him looking like Robotnik, but I'm
Yeah.
like, so apparently he's gonna start out looking one way, and by the end of the film, he'll look
Blows
like
up.
the video game character.
Yeah, he'll
but
have
I'm
to,
like,
some
I-
weird
I-
thing.
I don't know.
So
It's
wait,
gonna
so
be
Aaron,
terrible.
what about you? What do you think of in terms of? Do you think the influence of the fan bases should have ultimate control as to whether or not studios change?
I wouldn't say ultimate control, but I think like everything
Absolute
else, balance
power.
is good. I mean, they're your audience. They're who you're selling to. It's wisdom to listen to what they're saying, but at the same time, they're the creators. They should have vision enough to be able to take those people that are in love with whatever it is and take them a new direction and be okay with it. So I just think it's balanced. They have to hear it and then take it from there and hopefully create something.
So
Great.
I mean, with regards to Sonic, which I'm not sure. Have you seen the trailer?
I have
for
not.
Okay,
I have not.
you've seen obviously.
should.
You've really got to. You've got to watch it. So the question there is with them even delaying it. That's how many? I don't even know how many months. Was it coming out in November?
Says 3 months.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think it was
but
like November.
I think it
and
was
they pushed to,
November.
like February. Yeah.
So with them delaying it 3 months to just correct this CGI issue with what Sonic looked like,
Yeah.
it's
He
like,
looks terrible.
do you think that that's going to be enough to salvage the film?
I don't know. I saw on Twitter people's comments of like the little hand or whatever saying delaying till 2020 or whatever it said. There were a lot of people that were like, oh, thank goodness, this is giving me hope for this movie. And so I don't know.
It
Maybe
shows that
they-
somebody's listening,
Yeah.
at
Right.
least.
And I was going to say, exactly, maybe the bright spot in all this is that at least
You're a bright spot.
Of course I am. I'm always.
Go ahead.
I
some
wish I had a
sunshine.
I shouldn't have said that.
aw
Now he's talking
button.
about himself. Okay.
Is there a movie that has that in it? Do we know of one?
I'll
like
think
an
of
aw
something.
moment?
Some movie
Well,
somewhere
true.
should have. Oh,
But
Yeah, but I don't, who wants to use that? We need something original.
I did just now. I wanted to use it.
Aww.
I'll just point to Sean.
Please, Brandon, continue your train of thought.
Moving on.
yes, please. I don't know.
Moving on.
All I know is I think it's a good thing that Sonic is being redesigned.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, I think the movie's still doomed because I'm not.
looks
I don't
like
think it looks
Of
that
course
good
you
anyway.
do.
I don't think it looks that good. Honestly, I really don't.
There is
But-
more
and I
wrong
don't-
with that trailer than how Sonic looks.
Like I honestly think it could have been one of those things where
I think they need
just
to
like
add
Detective
tails in there.
Pikachu.
I don't see
Detective
a need for a Sonic
Pikachu,
movie anyway,
right?
But
It's just to me as a cash grab.
Well, I mean, you could say that about anything. It's like, I mean, there's no need for a Pokemon live action movie, but it was decent.
Well, but again, the way in which they use the animation style that they chose
But it was well
to
done, yeah.
display Pokemon on a live action setting, it was like, okay, this is kind of this is unique, but I can get behind it, and especially you immediately know it of course, it's a cash grab.
They should
It's got
just-
the Pokemon
They
title.
should just go
but
the
here's the
Rocky
thing.
and Bullwinkle
Yeah.
route where they're just animated and everybody else is live action.
Yeah.
Little animated
But,
Sonic.
but the thing is like at least with Pokemon, you still had this story set up from the very get go, and in the trailer, you even have like from the moment it starts, you think, okay, there's a legitimate purpose for this movie. They're not just throwing this together for a cash
No, I mean,
grab.
it had a
from Sonic. I immediately felt
story.
like with Sonic,
No, it feels like a cash grab. You're
it,
right.
it feels like a cash grab, and the story doesn't seem like it makes any sense at all. They're just trying to think of some stupid plot that they can have to throw in Sonic.
It doesn't
and
fit
just-
with the video game at all.
No.
And that's kind of the thing. It's like, I know it's not like there's a lot of plot in the original Sonic games anyways. You're saving random animals from Robotnik and defeating, but you know what I'm saying? You're setting the animals free and defeating Robotnik. It's not like there's a huge, I mean, you're collecting the Chaos Emeralds. There's not a huge plot. But I mean,
What are those?
Yeah.
What the hell is
Sounds like
that?
nobody knows.
Terrible.
But I mean, well, because it's kind of like Mario. I mean, the original Mario games is you're just saving the princess from
Right.
King Koopa, who ends up being Bowser in later games. But I mean, it's like
I love
don't
that
know.
he knows the lore.
I do. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
it.
love it.
Classic video game. But I mean, that's okay. That's fine. But you can come up with something. I mean, I'm thinking of the Super Mario Brothers movie, and that was terrible too.
Yeah.
But at least with that, they tried to connect it with details from the game. They're like,
Right.
okay, it's as horrible as it was. The plot at least kind of made sense.
It's just like
with that
Mortal
world.
Kombat, the original movie. At least in those cash grabs, they're like, you know what? We're just gonna throw all the fan service we can.
Yeah.
We're just gonna throw it all out
They're
there
saying there's just
and
the
try to do
tails
as
and
much
knuckles
as
in
we
there,
can.
but okay.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay.
You know what
And maybe
I want?
they'll show up. Who knows?
I want a live action Ugandan Knuckles, so that I'll be happy.
Oh.
Somebody needs to make that meme.
I want Mega Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want a
Oh.
live action Mega Man.
Oh, that would be a wonder. Yeah. Why have they not thought of that? That would
Don't
be
worry,
great.
it's coming. It's gonna come after Sonic flops.
Yeah.
Because that'll be the next blue thing they can go after.
Mega
I don't know. All I know is in this situation, I'm happy that the studio is making the change on behalf of the fans, because I think, like you said, Keith, brought up the fact that when you have people who love the material, it's almost it shows in the way that the story is told and in the details that they put into it themselves that they're fans. And it's like when you have somebody who just kind of comes in and says, "Oh yeah, you know, my son plays this game and I picked it up for a little bit and I thought it was fun, so I'm gonna make a movie out of it."
Yeah.
It's like you don't understand the you don't get the
why people
the
enjoy it.
historical
Yeah.
weight behind it. And so I'm just like, in that sense, I think they're doing the right thing by saying, okay, everybody is so unpleased. Not only that, but they're just getting laughed at.
Yeah.
Everybody's laughing at them because of how bad it looks. And so because of that, I think it's a smart
that
move
was
in this situation.
Where they went. They noticed they got laughed at. I think they know the movie's...
I'm just reading their comments and stuff.
I think they know the movie's already going to be garbage, so I think their hope now is, well, if the movie's not that good, at least if we fix Sonic and people are actually accept his design and like his design, they'll be more willing to at least go see the movie just to see a live action
And
Sonic.
we can make a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Keep
like
the
that's what
money
it's
rolling.
really going to be
I think
about.
the thing is,
Yeah.
it's like they know the movie may not be that good, but fans, if they see a Sonic they recognize, they're going to be more willing to check it out just to see Sonic.
What do our comments say, Sean? Do we have any interesting ones?
Somebody said they wanted a live-action Star Fox 64.
Okay, live action
Specifically
Star Fox
64.
would be great.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
And I'm not the only one who cried
Metroid.
during Aladdin.
Hey,
either, so.
well, the
A
original
Metroid
the cartoon
movie could be
Cartoon.
interesting.
A Metroid movie would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But see, again, that's a
Calling-
whole other discussion.
calling for it
Video
right now.
game movies. We're already talking
You know
about
what I
cartoons
want to see?
to
I want to
live
see
action.
the makers of Fast and the Furious make a Turok movie because that would just be hilarious. It'd be great.
What did you just say?
Think about it. Think about it. Oh because there's no plot. There's no plot in those games.
He's
You're
just
just
so
killing,
happy.
You're killing random dinosaurs, but you
I
think
know.
those people
you
like
can make
with
that so epic.
Yes!
The cerebral boar.
Yes!
Oh my god.
That's what I'm saying. Think about that.
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Yes, that was the best one all night. That was good.
So now
That
we
was
start
good.
an online petition, and
We're
maybe
starting
studios will
I'm
listen.
doing change.org right now. I'm changing.
It would just be
everybody's mind
so
on
over
that.
the top and ridiculous, but it'd be great.
I agree. I would like that.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, guys. I think we're finally ready to hit our unique weekly segment.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love.
Oh man, we're
There it is,
That's
Aaron.
great.
Oh.
There's
See?
the ball. Yeah.
Y'all cannot tell me you don't need that button.
Oh, we do need it. Maybe we just need to record our voices like that and just put it on there.
No, I
And we
want
can
to
just do it at any time. I agree. It's got to come
It's
from
gonna
the
come
movie.
from a movie.
All
So,
right,
Aaron,
guys. Whew. Let's move right along. Go
yeah,
ahead,
we're,
Keith.
We're running. We're running a little behind. So, marriage. What's that like?
Oh.
It's great. It's kind of the same. We're on 2 different shifts. He works third shift. I work first shift, so we don't see each other throughout the week except
Great.
for like 2 minutes in
Okay.
the morning.
Well,
He
that's
makes my
marriage.
lunch
I
for
mean,
me.
2
and
minutes
make
is
sure
all you
I
need
have-
sometimes.
Make sure I have coffee.
Oh, the sweet thing.
See?
Oh.
He is the best. He's the best.
Well, I wish he could be here. We did invite him on the show. We
Yeah.
did not just say
He
only
works
Aaron.
Actually,
third shift.
we kind of
So-
preferred him to you, but we got stuck
I
with you.
understand. I prefer him to me too.
Actually, we feel like I feel kind of like the whole Nathan Morgan thing. Like when he introduced us to Morgan, I think it took us forever to even meet Josh for the longest time.
Well, he works third shift. How many times I gotta say that?
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just saying we it's like Josh, we're shouting
I
out
think
to
we
you.
did
we
like
want you to
Morgan
be
better
on.
than
What
Nathan
time's he
when we
go to
met her,
work?
though.
Yeah. What time?
Yeah, what time?
He leaves as I'm coming home. He leaves at like 5:30.
Oh.
5:30. He's got to be there at 6.
Man,
And that's so sad.
sad.
So then that's this is a perfect discussion then, because for one you dated for 8 years and everybody hounded you for long enough about when's it coming, when's
Yeah,
the ring
yeah.
coming, and you had to put off a lot of people for a long time. It's like, you know what, we're leaving it in God's hands. It'll happen when it happens.
Yep.
So after 8 years of dating, finally
said,
being married,
"Do it."
It happened.
and it happened, and then Sean, even you, buddy, have been married for 13 years now? 12 and a half? Are y'all coming up on
12.
anniversary? When
Coming
was
up
your
on 12.
Oh, you're coming up on 12. When is that?
June.
June.
June what?
Aww.
Oh, he almost forgot. So after coming up on 12 years of marriage for you, 8 years of dating for Aaron, and now being a newlywed, the question really goes to you all. And the question really is,
I hope it was the
how?
That's what 12 years does. I hope.
If you got it wrong, buddy, is she watching?
I hope not.
She was a minute ago.
She's
Because
off
she
now.
said you're not going to take her
It's bedtime.
to see that
go to
on
bed.
Valentine's Day.
No.
You see,
No. June of 2007. I don't really.
I really
remember
want
what
you
day
to
it
take her
was.
to see Sonic. on
that
Valentine's Day
honestly
now.
that answers this week's question of how do you keep the love alive,
You don't forget your anniversary,
and you take her to go see Sonic.
and you take her to see a movie when you forget her anniversary.
So that really is the question I'm throwing out there, though. For you all who are in relationship, Keith and I are single. We're not in this, but we were hoping to pick up words of wisdom from you all. After having been with somebody for that long, how do you kind of keep things interesting and shake it up a little bit? I'm just going to throw it out there.
Throw
Lingerie.
rotten tomatoes.
Toys. Oh, you mean different ways? Okay,
You know,
it's a
honestly-
completely different thing.
Honestly, whatever.
Gotcha. I was trying to embarrass Erin. That's all I'm trying to
Yep.
do. She got red a
She's-
little
oh,
My
yeah,
face is
her
red
face
for
is red.
sure. I'm gonna
bit.
step
Well,
out like
eight
that.
years of dating. We dated for. We were engaged for 4, and I think we dated for almost 4. So
Ha-ha.
we were together
Kinda the
for
same.
quite a long time, and then being married for 12 years. It's a long time. I don't know how to explain it really. We kind of went over some of the stuff with when Neil was here and everything, but I kind of feel like until you get married, even though you've been with someone for 8 years, once you take that step, it's a completely different ball game. And so
So you're saying that definitively marriage is
it's different than just dating someone for 8 years.
Right.
And I mean, like I said, me and Amelia dated for a while. We were engaged for a long time. And the day we got married, I felt like it was like new.
something
Like
changed.
something changed. This was starting something that we
Can
hadn't
you
experienced
describe a
before.
little bit?
Be the
I don't know what you're
start
singing,
of
but I'm
something
going with it.
new.
It's
High
You
School
don't want to
Musical.
know. Yeah,
No.
no, you don't
I've
want
never
to know
seen
what.
that.
Yeah, don't.
Never.
Has that got Zac Efron in it?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's got Ted Bundy. in
Which,
it.
by the way,
Got Ted
Josh
Bundy.
may kill me for saying this, but that's like his guy celebrity crush is Zac Efron.
I can see
It's
that.
everybody's.
I can see that.
It's every guy's.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
it's
come
not.
on.
I love
What's
him in
yours,
The Greatest
Keith?
Showman. Yeah.
Not Zac
Fantastic
Efron.
in The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, he wasn't as in Greatest Showman, but I would go with Hugh Jackman over. Hugh
Right
Jackman
now, I'm at
over-
Chris Pratt.
Yes,
Chris Pratt's
Chris
my
Pratt.
crush
Chris-
right
yeah.
now.
He's a
and
good
Charlton
one.
Heston. But
And
he's
Charlton
dead.
Heston.
Yeah.
Clint
So-
Eastwood.
Who played?
Clint
Who was
Eastwood's
it? Who
not
played
dead,
Cool
but I
Hand
think
Luke?
he's-
Who is that?
That's Paul Newman.
Paul.
Yeah.
That was Paul Newman back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you-
Classically, I'd go Charlton Heston, Clint Eastwood, but
Yeah.
Chris Pratt, Hugh Jackman. I think me and Sean have the same taste in men, honestly.
We all just, yeah, we do.
you get a type.
Yeah. That's the type.
funny.
Bruce Willis, back in his heyday,
No.
a little bit.
Zed's
Never
dead.
Bruce, never
Listen,
Bruce
listen.
Willis.
Zed's dead.
Fifth Element, Bruce Willis, and Pulp
No.
Fiction, Bruce Willis was great.
Yeah, not for
Yeah.
me.
No.
He's too short. I like
All
tall
right. Well,
guys.
we're not talking about how to keep the love
Never-
alive.
You wanna
Never
be taller
Tom-
than you?
never
I like
Tom
them taller
Cruise.
than me.
Never
I
Tom
like my
Cruise.
women shorter, but my men taller. Oh,
So
man.
that's how you keep the love alive, Sean.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just think
It's-
about other men.
It's just no, has nothing to do with that. Would ruin it really fast. I think.
Ruined.
What?
Ruined.
Continue, Sean. Continue.
I've lost my train of thought.
oh.
Honestly,
Well, then let's switch over to Aaron.
let's switch over to Aaron.
I think it depends on what you mean by love. Like, what are you saying?
Well, okay,
Is
just
it a
not know what
feeling
love
we're
is,
talking
Aaron?
about? Well, I mean, I feel like the world describes love as a different thing than what love really is.
Oh,
So
that's
are we
true.
talking about
Good job.
butterflies and
Not
feelings like
infatuation.
For one,
Or
set,
love.
set it up. Set it up. So explain your difference of what you believe
Give
the world
us
thinks versus your
love.
opinion.
Well, I can't say I'm a relationship expert, and I do agree that marriage is different than, and I'm only been married for 2 weeks, so I feel like we'll definitely learn, more.
Right.
So I'm not gonna say this is how you keep your marriage alive. 'cause
Well,
I
no,
know,
but you've been together for 8 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've
Um,
obviously, you
You've
have
kept a relationship alive.
going.
But
Exactly.
for us, for one, and I know probably not everybody believes in this or whatever, but I believe that the Lord put us together. And so just knowing that was like a driving force of everything and keeping him in the center of the relationship. But I just think it's important to know that love is not a feeling. And some days you're not going to feel a spark. Some days you're not
true.
going to feel like being nice. Some days you're not going to feel like going on a date or whatever. Or sometimes you will and they don't, and vice versa. But it's just choosing to work at it anyways. You just do. I think that is probably why.
So
a
it's
lot
kind of
the-
like knowing that regardless of what feelings may come and go, it's just that constant reminder
Yes.
of knowing this person's there for me no matter what, and I can rely on them and know that they're there for me no matter what.
Yes.
And it's like through the feelings that change throughout, there's still that understanding of knowing they've got your back.
Yeah.
They'll be
I
there.
feel like the way the world makes it is why divorce is so easy, because you think, oh, I'm not happy anymore. Oh, I don't feel anything anymore. So I'm just going to leave. When in reality, that's not really what love is. Love is
vows you take
Yes.
mean something. That's today's age. We don't really say that it means anything. It's just, well, we have to do that to be married.
Yeah.
But there is a meaning there. There's a promise to each other. There's a promise to God.
It's a covenant.
And exactly. And that's something that's unbreakable. I mean, me and my wife have even talked about it to the point where I honestly feel like as long as we've been together, but even before I asked her to marry me, like I knew that there's not really much she could do that would stop me from loving her. And it's kind of like, I mean, I don't want to get all like spiritual and stuff, but there's nothing you can do that Christ is going to turn his back on you. Whatever it is, he will forgive. And until you know, we've talked about it before, until you know that kind of love, I don't think you can love another human being.
Absolutely.
And like truly love, or at least not to its full potential. And the kind of love that I have for my wife, if she committed adultery, I could forgive that.
Yeah.
And I could keep that marriage going. Like that's how strong it has become. But I like to think that it was even strong on that day when I made that promise. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. And I hope the feeling's mutual. That's one of the things where it's kind of, men and women are different, regardless of what 2019 tells you. Men and women are different. And there's different wants and needs, different desires. And the Bible talks about meeting those needs and desires on both sides. The Bible talks about love. It talks about submission. It talks about a lot of different things. But to make the relationship work for the rest of your life, I really do feel like it's not give and take like some people say. It's just give and give. Like when you give something, the other person accepts it. They don't take it, they accept it.
Right.
And as long as you're both giving and both accepting, I think everything will work together. Adultery or something like I mentioned, that's like one of the biggest things that could screw a relationship up. Like today, it can be, well, you don't like the same kind of wine I like, so let's get a divorce.
You didn't like my Facebook post.
Yeah.
How come you don't follow me?
Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, something as big and crashing to a relationship as something like adultery, that could bust your relationship down to just one thread is all that it's hanging on. For me, like that thread is God. He's the glue that holds the relationship together. I wouldn't be in the relationship if he wasn't there. And I don't know you that well, and I don't know Josh at all, but I know your relationships with God are equal, and I know that God is what brought you together, and God is what is leading you into marriage and what's going to hold you together. So I don't really think that there's really, as long as he is there, everything else works.
Right.
And I feel like love can be, you can experience love without God in a relationship. You can go 50 years of marriage without God in your relationship, but you're never going to know the full potential of what that relationship could be like without God.
Yeah.
And we're talking about video game movies and stuff, and I'm thinking about video games, and I'm like, you can beat a video game without unlocking all the extra stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's only when you have that knowledge and you have the access to unlock everything to just do a complete end game that it's fully satisfying. Like you have finished the game.
My mind was
There's
somewhere
nothing
else.
else. There's nothing else. And that's like a relationship like you have and a relationship like I have. And
it's just funny because you're never going to unlock all of what your wife holds.
No.
It's
I'm not
always
saying
going
that.
to be
I'm
a
not saying that.
mystery.
You're taking it a different way, but I'm saying with God, I've got the cheat codes. I've got access. I've got access to all that there is to unlock. And I know that 60, 70, however long we live, I know that at the end of my life or hers, at the end of our marriage, I'm going to have experienced the fullness of what that can be.
Points.
And I don't think you can do that without God. And so I know that you have that. And that's why, like, when we were texting a long time ago about photographers, and I won't even get into that weird conversation, but I told you, like, I don't know you all, but I know where this is going, and you don't have anything to worry about. And so that's kind of like the best thing I can say to hold a relationship together is make God the center of the relationship.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, not only with that and keeping God at the center, but it's ultimately because of your relationship with him and the reliance on it.
I had that relationship
It binds
first.
everything. Right. That relationship first. your wife that relationship, and it's because of that bond and understanding that connection to God that you have the ability to even commune with each other, because it's in those moments when you are at your worst and you are at your brokenness that you understand not only the forgiveness from his angle, but that you have a partner beside you that's willing to forgive you in the same vein. And like you said, I like the way you said it, not give just give and take, but give and give. Because you know when your partner is giving you everything they've got, then that's what also creates a healthy relationship.
Right.
And go ahead, Keith.
I was just going to say that I think also there are times when people, and I think Sean's actually mentioned this once before, they may be aware. That may be a little nugget of wisdom you imparted to me. But there are times I think everybody thinks of like, the give and take thing as like equal parts. Like, well, I'll give 50% and she'll give 50%, but that's not really how that works. There's days
100%.
where there's days where like. Like maybe like she's not having a good day and she's she's sick.
You
or you're
gotta
not
give
having a good day.
120.
So you're giving like
She
120
mentioned
because she
that,
can
and
only
that's-
give and the
Yeah.
same thing vice versa. If you're having you're going through a rough spot and you're not able to do what you need to do on that day, she might be giving 120 and you're not. But I mean that's part of the marriage and the whole give and take thing is that. It's not always going to be like 100-100 or 50-50. It's going to be, you give all you can give possible
But I do think
at all times.
I do think when you don't have that relationship with God in there, I think you have
fails.
Well, it fails because I think what you have
It fails.
Well, I mean, I don't say it fails because that makes people think, well, if you don't believe in God, then you're going to end in divorce.
Yeah, that's
I wasn't saying.
not
I'm saying you can
necessarily the case.
definitely go the distance, but you're never going to experience it the way God
Right.
intended for you
Well,
to
and
experience
I think it's far easier. I think it's far easier for without that connection to God for you to have that unbalance.
Yeah.
Of,
yeah.
Of
Yeah.
50-50
Your
and
unbalance.
But then I think the other problem is that with that imbalance is like you don't have that connection to drive you back to this is why I'm doing it. And so when you have that breakdown in that connection and it's coming from both sides, you basically I think have a greater chance of coming to that conclusion of this isn't worth fighting for.
Yeah.
This isn't worth keeping us together. And every little thing then at that point not only gives you a crack in the foundation, but it completely destroys it. And you end up, giving and giving and giving, and the other person's taking and taking and taking because you don't understand that right relationship with God and how that defines the relationship you have with this other
I'm
person.
put Aaron on the spot. real quick.
Uh-oh.
on the
Are
spot.
you going to have kids?
Never. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, eventually.
Okay.
One day.
Wait.
Hashtag one day.
Yeah, that is like one of the first things as soon as you get married. People are like,
gonna have
it's
babies?"
time for kids.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I don't want kids. I don't want kids right now. I mean,
Good on
whatever
you.
happens, but I don't want kids. At least for a year.
Oh wow! I thought it was gonna be
See,
a
like,
lot
my
later than
advice,
that. I thought it was gonna be
just a piece of advice. You don't have to listen to it, but 5 years.
5 years. Do you
5
know how
years.
old I am?
Do you know how
I'm
old
28.
I am?
I'll be.
You can
Well,
make
my
it.
mom had me when she was 33. So,
See,
Yeah,
that's
there
not
ain't
that
nothing wrong
old.
with that.
Gosh, Aaron.
but I want
But
more than
fashion
one
three-
kid.
You can
Three.
have more than one child, Aaron.
Yeah, you can. You're allowed. You're allowed.
I just
You're making
meant
this so difficult.
You
when
need to
I
you need
get
to be
older,
married for a
it's
while.
harder.
I need to get
Like,
this
just
out of my head though,
do it.
because well, no, this is off topic. But you mentioned like you can beat a video game, and my mind immediately went to you can beat a video game, but you can't
beat your wife. I thought the same thing. I thought the same.
It's like that is not the advice he's giving, but that's where my mind
No,
went.
that's not what I was going to. Maybe I illustrated it poorly.
All
but
right.
I've got video games in my brain.
I
right
do
now,
want to soften the topic a little bit in the same question though. So yes, just general, and we'll be quick here because we need to wrap things
We're
up.
running
there.
a little behind.
But this is juicy stuff. I love the relationship topic. It's always my favorite.
juicy.
But yeah, so now how do you keep things alive in the sense of just kind of keeping it interesting? And like you mentioned, Aaron, about how he wakes up and he'll have the coffee ready and he'll have made lunch for you
Aw.
and little things like that that kind of just go
Yeah,
a
what
long
little-
way
what little
in
things
knowing.
do you do for him?
Well, no, not just that, but how
Keith is angry.
he's trying to
Just saying.
yes.
Yeah.
But like, how do you?
He's giving all. What are you giving? Gosh.
We have
Go
a
ahead.
good system.
No, you're
it
fine.
came pretty natural. Like he's just a cooker. He likes to cook. I don't really. I don't know. But so when he's awake, he cooks. And then when I get home, there's dishes. So I do the dishes and I do the laundry,
Nice.
and we got a little teamwork going on.
Yeah,
It's
which and
not
you have
all-
you have to with that kind of schedule. It's like to
Yeah.
have that balance and to share the load a little bit. But even then,
Share the
I
load.
knew it. That's why I said
You needed that button on there.
Yeah.
We need that sound bite. But no, even in terms of just being lighthearted and like going out on dates and other little things, it's like how
Yeah.
do you kind of keep that?
It's harder when you have kids. And
Really?
I mean, I'll just be honest with you. I dog my kids all the time, and you'd think that kids ruin everything.
They
by
do.
the way I talk, but they change everything,
Yeah.
like
It's
big
not
time.
about you guys
That's
anymore.
why I want to say, like, you definitely should have your time as a married couple first, so that you can figure that out. Because once you have kids, then you become mom and dad, and you forget that you're husband and wife, and you need to remain husband and wife throughout raising kids, however many you choose to have. Don't have
92.
kids. Don't have kids just to fix something.
Right.
If something's broken, fix that first, because kids are only going to make it worse.
Yeah.
Kids
That's
are the
good.
ultimate test of a marriage, or any relationship for that matter, because, and I kind of feel like when you're not married and you have kids together, you have an out.
Yeah.
But when you're married and it means something to you to be married, having kids is like, now it's cemented. It's not just sealed. It's locked in cement. It is
We
there
talked
permanently.
about a lot of those fundamental things too, though, before we got married. Like even things like, are we gonna do Santa Claus? Are we doing
yeah.
homeschool? Are we doing?
Yeah.
I just feel like
You're
we
doing Santa Claus.
we did a lot of things. I don't want to say backwards, but different than how a lot of us like.
I don't
they
think it's
wait
backwards
until
at
they're
all.
married and
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
those
No.
conversations, and I feel like we've. I'm sure
Well,
there's
for
other
one,
things
with-
we've
with-
not
yeah.
come to yet.
With
but
8 years of dating, I mean, you eventually are like, okay, we know we're getting married. Let's just get a lot of this out of the
Well,
way.
I think that kind of plays into the difference between the way you dated and the way the world dates. Because the way the world dates is they're dating.
we were intentional.
Yeah, exactly. You knew what you wanted. You were dating for marriage, and I think that's kind of like on. I'm not. It's no joke. On our first date, I told my wife that she wasn't the first. Like that's a huge. That was like.
I'm going to get this
This
out
might,
of the way.
yeah, this might end. This
Nice
might,
to
we
meet
might
you,
not
by
ever
the
have
way.
a. No, I mean, we went out to eat and had pizza, and literally, like, we talked about my previous relationships and hers, and I just let her know up front. Look, like, I know this is something that you are very adamant about. I wasn't, and and I was with her, but that's a huge thing. Like, nobody mentions that
Right.
today, but that was my intention. Was after the first date, on the first date, I knew, like, hands down, I was like, I'm going to ask her to marry me. I don't know if she'll say
That's
yes,
awesome.
but I knew. And it's not cliche. It's like the movies or whatever, but I'm serious. Like, I knew.
You knew it.
And
Ours
that was
was 2
why
weeks.
that was why I
2
was
weeks,
willing to
I
tell
knew.
her that, because I was like, if she's not willing to deal with that, if that's something she can't get past, that I haven't saved myself for her the way
Yeah.
she may have for me, then we can go ahead and just get
Well,
out
and
of
it's
the way
almost,
and end
it was
right
another
now.
instance where you kind of understood her love for you. That she would be willing to give you that chance, knowing full well that you were upfront with
Yeah,
her. You
yeah,
told her.
yeah.
But coming out of the woodwork and saying, hey,
No,
this is
no,
where I'm
when
at.
she- when she
and
was
she
just like-
accepted you of it.
Okay, I'm not going to do that. Then it was just like, okay, we're good. let's get married. Yeah. So, but yeah,
Oh, wait,
having
hold on.
having there we go. That was the wedding night. having those kind of principles and values, and that went into being a part of your dating and talking to about those things up front, like before you were even married, says a lot about the relationship, because that's where God was a factor in your relationship. You wouldn't have had that kind of conversation if you weren't
Right.
dating for marriage and to honor and glorify Him. If you were just trying to do that for yourself and for the world, then it wouldn't have worked out that way. And another thing is, you've been together for 8 years, but you haven't really, I'll put this the right way. You haven't played house. You haven't lived
Yeah.
together, right? So
No, we have
okay.
not.
So that's a big thing. Even though you've dated for 8 years, once you start sleeping with somebody and living
Yeah,
with
he's
somebody,
trying to
and
get me to get rid of all my T-shirts. That's
that,
frustrating.
that's when things can.
I like my
kind of-
T-shirt, Sean.
I can't
Yeah.
wait. This is gonna be a whole.
Yeah.
We're gonna have you on like a ton more
I'm-
relationship
I'm,
segments.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Just
I'm
all
just so
T-shirts or
curious.
just your Green Bay T-shirts?
Well, he doesn't like those because he is a Bears fan.
Well,
but
boo.
he-
Oh,
Yeah.
whoa!
I
House
know. I
divided.
knew it before we got married, so
That's so
well,
awful.
hey, he knew too. He knew too.
That's
so.
all right.
Yeah, but he married up. He got a Green Bay Packer fan.
I want
No,
to make
that's
it
true.
known he bought me a cheese hat for our
Oh.
anniversary.
That's
1
love.
year.
That is love.
real love right there.
Yeah.
That's
So-
love.
Don't you buy him no Bears things.
I won't.
I bought my
Okay.
wife
No, I'm
the
just
Sound
kidding.
of
I already
Music.
have.
So
You bought what?
I bought her the Sound of Music.
What's wrong with the Sound of Music, Sean?
he hates it.
It's a great movie.
hate it.
Great movie.
Every second of it.
A doe, a deer.
A female deer.
Oh dear.
Ray, a golden drop of sun.
I like her sing it better. That
I
was
like
terrible.
Julie Andrews.
Yeah, but not
Well-
even enough to watch that movie.
That's been a fantastic relationship segment.
I think it has. I
been.
think
I
we're
mean,
about This is
I know
getting
this is,
long.
but I love
You
it.
know
Look,
was
this
gonna-
is
it
what
always
happens
goes
when we
over
get
when we
have a
extra
guest.
people.
Ah,
It's
they
fine.
can
Exactly.
get
Everybody
off.
wants to
Yeah.
talk, so that's fine.
And not only that, but it's been. I love that it's a fruitful conversation about
Fruit.
relations.
Fruitful.
It's
about
It's
producing
fruity.
fruit.
It's about Fruit of the Loom, you know, that
Right.
underwear,
Fruitful.
and you got to get rid of it now.
Wait
you gotta
5
get rid of
years
it. Yeah.
before you produce fruit.
You know what I got out of all of this? That we timed Share the Load better than we ever have the whole.
That was good.
The whole, and we'll see you at the. We butcher that every time. We didn't even try, and we said Share the Load. Like, it's just.
Yeah, that one actually.
Terrible.
Yeah, when you're on the ball and you know what to do because you're reading each other's minds. It's like when you said you
terrible.
can beat a video game, but you can't beat your wife. I was thinking
Yeah.
the same thing. Keith.
That's a
terrible.
T-shirt, though. That's a good one.
I mean,
that is a good one.
technically you can beat your wife, but you shouldn't beat your wife. There's a difference. There's a difference. Well,
No, I mean I
you
agree.
can. I'm just saying you can do whatever you want to do, but that doesn't mean that you're going to not
True.
have repercussions.
I would
from
say
that.
that's
Right.
probably
True.
a
Right.
I mean,
No.
well, are you given at that point, Sean?
Giving it to her good. Like,
Oh, straight to the
Yeah.
moon.
Just remember, order abuse. I'm just saying.
We do not support abuse.
No,
Just
no, no, no.
want to clarify.
Well,
and we're not telling
Which-
you to stay in a relationship.
Which we are we are
No.
that
we as
I
in
do
Red
not
Moon
support
or
abuse.
I do not.
Alrighty, guys. Look, we're gonna wrap it up. We could dive in and talk even more about this, and I would love to on more relationship segments down the road. So, Aaron, of course, you're more than welcome back. It's always fresh to have a nice female perspective on this show because oftentimes
Y'all
it does
need
get a
it.
little bit,
Just
and
saying.
it gets a little stale in here and stuffy with all the male egos. So, but thank you for joining us this week and being
My
on our
pleasure.
show. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
I did.
Perfect.
It was fun.
So until next time, I could plug our email, but we've already plugged it.
We did that.
Do it
Our-
again.
our-
On social media.
RMPodcast
You
at
got
Red
that up
Moon.
there?
Just do it.
Yeah, RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Huh.
We had an email to read. Are we not going to do that?
Well, not this week. We
Oh.
can't
Alright.
this week. We're running.
We'll
by.
save it for next week.
Sorry.
So
We'll
I do have
to
the
save
social
email
at the
for
bottom
next
though,
week.
Sean. If you want to point at that, all our
Is it
social,
all right here?
Yeah, all of it's right there. Yeah,
Huh.
There's a
yeah.
bunch of them.
You're doing
Right there.
good.
Huh.
And then
Right.
Keith,
Right.
yeah,
Oh, wait. Right
right
there.
there. Yeah,
Oh, look at that. I wanna
All of
tickle
that.
Is that your middle
Tickle
finger?
it.
Get that out of there.
That's my middle
Oh,
finger.
okay.
we'll have to blur that out in
Lord
post.
have
I
mercy.
point with that
And now
finger a
even
lot.
Aaron,
Look
you've
at
got
that.
it up
Look
on
at
you.
My
that.
son does it too.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you got to bring way down.
What
way
is
down.
that? What
Keep
are you
going,
doing?
Keep
Whoa.
going. Keep going.
Aaron, you
there
failed.
you go. There
You-
it is.
Listen.
Oh,
I hope you do
okay,
better in your
yeah.
marriage than you do
There
at
it is.
pointing the email.
All right. Until next time.
Thanks, Keith.
Oh man, I am. Oh gosh, I got to play the close music here.
Yeah, you do.
I am
Get
one
it.
of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host.
Sean Sebastian.
And hold on, I'm going to jump to her. Our special guest this week, Miss.
Aaron Boyd.
Wow.
Wait,
Still
she
sounds
didn't say
weird.
the whole. What was her thing again? It
Oh
was
no,
like,
I want a new
"Hello."
one. I'm gonna say bye.
Okay, no. No. Never again.
And of course,
Ever
last
again.
but not least,
Keith Cheatham.
nothing.
Well, I thought we'd do the.
Oh,
let's do
okay. Until next time, we'll see you at the movies.
Hey, you got that one.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.